The monotremes are some of nature's most peculiar creatures. So strange, in fact, that when a young Charles Darwin came across his first encounter with one was when he initially began to question creationism. Monotremes are an order of Mammalia, an ancient ancestor that broke off of the main phylogenetic tree away from marsupials and placentals circa 187 million years ago. Monotremes belong to order Monotremes and consist of 5 extant species today. Yet, their evolutionary history contains many cousins and relatives. Today, 4 of the 5 living species belong to family Teglosidae, which are echidnas. The remaining monotreme is the notorious platypus, whose scientific name is the Ornithocucus anatus. The echidnas can be split off into 2 separate genera, one having a short beak and the other 3 species having longer beaks. Monotremes are a 19th century biologist's nightmare. They contain traits of reptiles, yet appear like mammals, and in the case of the platypus, there is a venom-secreting claw it uses for defense. These strange combinations of traits are consequently what also makes them so valuable for evolutionary history, as they mark the wonders of evolution and reveal a glimpse into what mammals looked like. The various differences separating monotremes and mammalias is vast. However, the famous one is that monotremes lay eggs instead of delivering children via live childbirth. Monotremes lay eggs, and after 10 days of incubation, begin to act as normal mammal mothers and provide milk to the hatched young. Now that you understand what monotremes are and how unique they are, it's time to delve into the evolution history and understand how they came to be and what separated them from the vast majority of mammals. Here is my copy of the evolutionary timeline of monotremes. As you can see, I began my timeline 250 million years ago with the Permian-Triassic extinction and all the way to present day. Throughout these slides, so you can see me breaking it down into individual pieces so it's easier to consume. Throughout this presentation, I'll go through each of these discrete events individually and explain their relevance. Mammals are the ruling class today. Humans have conquered every corner of the globe, and the age of reptiles is past. However, 220 million years ago, that was not the case. 220 million years ago marks the approximate beginning of lactation in creatures, and thus the slow rise of mammal supremacy. Synapsids were the first creature to lactate and ranged from 310 million years ago all the way to the late Triassic 200 million years ago. Synapsids are responsible for the first divergence of glandular skin secretion, before the rise of therians and the divergence of monotremes. Synapsids have a skin patch that is hypothesized to be responsible for secreting milk like modern monotremes do today. It is hypothesized that the monotremes diverged from other mammals before development of nipples that are predominantly seen today, and is the reason why monotremes have the unique trait of having a secreting patch of milk on their body. This marks the beginning of the vast differences between ordinary mammals and their alien cousins, the monotremes. While platypus are famously labeled the most strange creature on Earth, a fact that is not commonly known is that they are biofluorescent. Recently discovered in the past 5 years, researchers have found that platypus appear uniformly brown or blue under light under a UV beam due to a fluorescent wavelengths around 500 nanometers. Scientists are unsure if this trait is genetically linked and if there is an ancestral mammalian trait of biofluorescence that connects the possum, flying squirrel, and platypus together. If this is true, it would be a very dormant and very conservative trait that's lasted for over hundreds of millions of years. However, this trait could be simply a convergent evolution and not be related. Living monotremes represent an ancient mammalian form, and with this new discovery of biofluorescence in platypus, researchers are hypothesizing if ancient therians expressed biofluorescence amongst some of its species before monotremes split off. The first mammal to ever exist is the Morganucodon, a tiny Asian rodent that is hypothesized to appear similar to a shrew or mouse. The Morganucodon dates back to approximately 205 million years ago and is famously labeled as one of the first mammals on Earth. This small, seemingly insignificant rodent gave life to the order Monotremes, circa 187 million years ago. Currently, there are 3 groups of mammals: monotremes, which are the star of this presentation, placentals, which include humans and the majority of mammals, and marsupials, which contain creatures such as a kangaroo and koala. Marsupials and monotremes are primarily located in Australasia, mainly due to its isolation from other continents and limited migration events. The monotremes were the first creatures to split off from the phylogenetic tree and thus are seen as more ancient forms of mammals. This early divergence from other mammals also explains why there is a confusing mix of reptilian and mammalian genes. There is reptilian traits such as egg-laying in monotremes, which is unique to mammals. Then there's also mammal-specific characteristics, such as lactation, and then there's also combinations of traits amongst marsupials and monotremes, which have antibacterial proteins in the milk. And lastly, there's also traits unique to monotremes, such as venom in platypus. This assortment of traits confused scientists for centuries and still proves to disrupt many views on the process of evolution. Monotremes are warm-blooded, like other mammals, yet their internal body temperatures is cooler than most other mammals compared to the size. This characteristic reflects its reptilian characteristics poking through and is a callback to the cool-blooded ancestors they came from. Since the divergence of monotremes 187 million years ago, there has been an abysmal fossil record of the species within the order. The oldest recorded monotreme is the Tephalonus trocellari, an ancient small platypus-looking creature. The Tephalophus trocellari body mass is estimated 40 grams and marks the smallest monotreme ever recorded. It retained a similar morphology to modern-day platypus and is speculated to have an electrosensitive beak that was used to find small arthropods and mollusks in the muddy banks of rivers. This electrosensitive beak is what modern-day platypuses used to forage in the riverbanks of Australia and has proven to be quite successful due to a limited change in morphology over the past 100 million years. Tephalopus trocellari hail from the Bamarian early Apatian and was discovered in Victoria, Australia, which lends to the fact that monotremes originated in the country and have spent the majority of their evolutionary history within that region. The Tephalopus trocellari differs from all known monotremes because they possess 5 molars rather than 4 or less. Teeth are sadly the common fossil evidence for monotremes, and subsequently, the majority of the data researchers have to speculate about how ancient species of monotremes lived their lives. As I'll explain in more depth later, teeth are one of the defining changing traits of Monotremata and reveal how these strange creatures survived mass extinctions and thrived for over 100 million years. Following Tephalonus trocellari, there was a radiation of species that followed and marked the age of monotremes. Between 127 and 100 million years ago, there was a significant increase in monotreme diversity, with newfound species such as Opalois splendens and Dehangara aurora. Scientists suspect that Australia was home to a diverse array of monotremes that are yet to be discovered. Opalois splendens date between 102 and 96.6 million years ago and share characteristics that are very similar to platypus, yet foreshadow the dawn of the echidna with a more narrow jaw akin to the snout mouths of echidnas today. The region of Lightning Ridge in Western Australia uncovered 6 egg-laying mammals dating back 100 million years ago, or monotremes, which is a testament to the order's success. There are very few monotreme fossils, as I've painfully realized throughout this project. So, the discovery of these 6 new species in Lightning Ridge this past year has expanded the known diversity of monotremes by 20%. Another species discovered in Lightning Ridge was the Colocodon richeri, an early monotreme that is differentiated by its hot cross-bun-shaped molars. The discovery of the Colocodon richeri reveals the breadth of monotreme diversity with its strained teeth due to it likely having a different mode of eating. This age of speciation of monotremes saw an increase in the size of the order, reaching the modern-day sizes of monotremes and weighing up to 4 kilograms. Monotremes may have begun as platypus-like ancestors, yet today the majority of them are echidnas. In fact, they outnumber the platypus 4 to 1. The divergence of echidnas and platypus is hypothesized to begin with the creature Echidnapus, which resembles the beginning of the echidnan features within the order of Monotremata. Echidnapus maintains a platypus-like anatomy, yet as a combination of the two animals. The echidnapus was also recently discovered at Landing Ridge in Australia alongside the Quorclodon vicheri and Arpala splendus. These creatures are transitional forms between modern-day echidna and platypus. They have helped researchers determine when the echidna officially diverged and began its own lineage. Echidnapus, alongside the other specimens from Landing Ridge, are all suspected to be from around 102 to 96.6 million years old. Nowadays, Australia is known as the land of the marsupials. However, as fossils continue to be discovered, there are indications that Australia was initially a kingdom of monotremes. As I mentioned earlier, teeth are a defining feature of monotreme evolution. They mark significant shifts in the ecological rules in their environment. They answer questions surrounding why certain species became extinct, and they are the best preserved fossils of monotremes throughout history. Tephalophus chaucerei was the first monotreme and had 5 distinct molars. However, over time, monotremes evolved to lose those teeth. Currently, echidnas have no teeth, and neither do platypus. Only adolescent platypus do for a short period of time, however. Around 100 million years ago, monotremes began to evolve towards losing their teeth. The ancient monotreme Strepodon had a body mass of 2.2 kilograms and 3 molars, similar to Quorclodon vicheri, who also had 3 molars. Scientists hypothesize that monotremes were evolving to lose their teeth due to selective pressures favoring monotremes who were better suited towards scavenging small arthropods in muddy banks and mollusks and crushing the shells instead of hunting for small fish and using their teeth to tear into flesh. Modern platypi have a keratinous bill and contain none of the molars of their ancestors. One of the turning points of monotremata evolution was the KPG mass extinction 66 million years ago. During the KP mass extinction, many lineages of monotremata ended, and the living species were strictly aquatic. The fossil record after the extinction saw a decrease in monotreme diversity and, in turn, had a shrinkage in the gene pool, restricting the order to an aquatic lifestyle. Furthermore, the available nutrients during and after the event saw terrestrial and oceanic photosynthesis being impacted, while freshwater habitats, which house hardy arthropods, supported the remaining monotreme food chain. This further skewed the populations towards having fewer teeth to better specialize in the ecological niche of scavenging for hard-shelled mollusks and surviving in the freshwater riverways of Australia. A few million years following the KPG mass extinction, there was a migration event across the ancient continent of Gondwana. There have been specimens of monotreme named Monotrematum sudamericum hailing from modern-day continent of South America, as dictated by its suiting namesake. It is suspected that between 63 and 61 million years ago, a population of an ancient group of monotremes migrated across the supercontinent of Gondwana and wound up in what is currently known as Patagonia, Argentina. This group then became isolated and underwent allopatric speciation, though there are few fossils to uncover the history of Monotrematum sudamericum to reveal its lifestyle and morphology. It is a monumental discovery in monotreme history as it marks the only specimen outside of Australasia. This discovery lends to the claim of the age of monotremes and shows how widespread and successful the order was. While the monotremes were once widespread and diverse, they now belong to a select few species contained within Australasia. However, despite over 100 million years of evolutionary trends towards aquatic life and perfecting the build of the platypus, a new family, Teglosidae, or, in layman's terms, echidnas, emerged as a prevalent modern monotreme morphology. There are currently 4 species of echidnas today, one being the short-beaked echidna, and the others all being long-beaked. To be specific, in the long-beaked genus, there is eastern long-beaked, the western long-beaked, and finally, Zyglosis attenborough, which was recently proven to not be extinct. For half a century, scientists had no proof of life of the Attenborough apart from trails and burrows until 2023. However, The newfound success of the echidna genus would not have been possible without the speciation event between 48 and 19 million years ago. Monotremata had a divergence event between the standard platypus build and the modern echidnas in the Cenozoic. Echidnas marked the return to a terrestrial lifestyle for monotremes and began to grow large forearms with claws to help them burrow. In addition to the forearms, echidnas develop quills that bear a stark resemblance to a hedgehog. While they're unrelated and an instance of convergent evolution, the two species share a similar ecological niche. Echidnas still attain many reptilian traits and are in many ways as strange as their close relative the platypus. One of the traits that echidnas retain is a low body internal temperature. While they're still warm-blooded, like other mammals, their internal body temperature is much lower than of mammals' comparison of size. To combat their cooler bodies, they have developed sharp claws that are primed for burrowing and can insulate themselves underground to increase their internal temperatures. Fossil echidnas do not appear until 13 million years ago in the mid-Miocene. This lack of fossil record is primarily due to echidnas not having teeth, which are the most common form of fossil remains of monotremes. Over time, echidnas have lost their beak and forage for food using a long snout. However, there are still vestigial structures of the electrosensitive sensors at the end of the snout where their bellies to be. Overall, echidnas have proven to be a successful lineage and are the evidence of the wonders of evolution. As the flow of time progressed, we have arrived at the modern-day morphological structure of the platypus, the Obdurodon. The Obdurodon has an estimated body mass of 2 kilograms and is 26 million years old. The Obdurodon is in the family Ornithochidae, which contains the modern platypus. The results of the remains of the Obdurodon genus shows that there have been very minimal evolutionary changes in an Ornithochidae for the past 26 million years, only slowly evolving to lose its remaining molars. Some scientists argue that Obdurodon may not be an ancestral relative to the modern-day Ornithochidae, but are instead paraphyletic. However, there is no concrete evidence to support this hypothesis, and a morphological analysis shows that many similarities that led to the assumption that Obdurodon is the first modern platypus relative with a nearly identical structure. Around 5.5 million years ago, the genus of Tachyglossidae had a speciation event that resulted in the creation of the short-beaked and long-beaked echidnas. Since then, the long-beaked echidnas have further speciated due to geological isolation, leading to genetic differences in the populations. The western and eastern long-beaked echidnas bear many similarities, yet, due to their geological separation, they can no longer interbreed and generate fertile offspring. The short-beaked echidnas live across the country of Australasia and also reside in the southern New Guinea, whereas the long-beaked echidnas are contained in the island of New Guinea. However, recent research and field expeditions have revealed the possibility that western long-beaked echidnas may in fact live in northern Australia, yet no specimens have been found, only trails and burrows, and it's not confirmed if they are extinct and just remnants of a past population. The platypus ruled the freshwater waterways of Australia for over 100 megaatoms until 2 million years ago when a competitor joined the fray, the Australian water rat. The water rat is estimated to have competed fiercely with the platypus and have been recorded to prey on juvenile platypus on the first few months of development. The interspecific competition between water rats and platypus has been one of the hypothesized reasons for platypus to further specialize within their niche and lose the last remaining molars. The Australian water rat currently occupies the same regions of the platypus in Western Australia and has proven to be a successful counterpart to the platypus. The height of echidna's dominance in the order Monotremata was in the Pleistocene, when the largest ever monotreme existed, Murray-Glossus hacketi. Murray-Glossus hacketi was around 1 meter in length and weighed an estimated 20 to 30 kilograms, which is roughly 6 times larger than the short-beaked echidna today, which ranges between 2 and 7 kilograms. The Pleistocene saw the age of gigantism in terrestrial mammals, and the familia Triglossidae were no different. The time period saw insular gigantism in creatures such as echidnas and Bergrenboderi hatcheri. The Ornithochidae also saw increases in body size, and Obdurodon thurachlachild was the result. This extinct species of platypus has not been dated yet, but it is an estimated 15 to 1 million years old and reached up to 1 meter in length, similar to the Megalariaceae hacketi. Both platypi and echidna grew to massive sizes for their comparative body mass today in the Pleistocene, and have since reduced body size due to extinction and overall trends in mammalia size. Ultimately, in the present day, we are left with the last Ornithochidae, a remnant of an ancient history of mammals and an insight into what we once were. Its name? Ornithochius anantinus. Ornithochius anantinus is a scientific name for the platypus. This strange creature has stood the test of time, and while it may only be one species, it is a wide diversity in its size. Platypus from the south of Australia, particularly in Tasmania, are much larger than those in the northern counterparts. This size variance can be contributed to the availability of nutrients being more dense in southern regions, with an increase in rivers and vegetation. However, another hypothesis is that the populations are beginning to speciate. The platypus may have different gene pools in specific regions across the country, and that be the reasons for the size differences. No experiments have been conducted on the growth of platypi in controlled environments to see if it's a genetic difference or nutrient availability. Platypus males are larger than females and are 16 to 25 inches in length compared to females, which are 15 to 22 inches in length. Ultimately, the order Monotremata is one of biology's biggest mysteries over the past 2 centuries, stumping biologists and the wise mind of Darwin in his first encounter with them. Monotremes provide a valuable window into our past, helping piece together the web of life, and show their stark resilience to mass extinctions and adversity throughout time. Another thing the Monotremes are notorious for, apart from the strange morphology, is that they are masters of spies and cannot be trifled with. Be warned.